so much for being here. So Founders Blend was something that we decided to start about a year ago, or exactly a year ago, right here at Second Story, and it was a vision that came together from partnerships. So there was quite a few community partners involved in getting Founders Blend started. Midland Development Corporation, the Midland Chamber of Commerce, BAM Business Consulting, UT Permian Basin, Midland College, Film Hunter Media. It took a lot, and of course, Second Story Coworking. So all of us got together, we decided we need to have a time and a space where we can intentionally get entrepreneurs and business owners in the same room, and they can talk about what is it like running a business in Midland, so that we can learn from each other's experiences and then kind of energize ourselves to go out there and keep growing and building our business, right? So you'll hear from two businesses today. You will hear from Brown's Bar-B-Q and Page 27 Designs. And then following their presentations, we'll have a Q&A with the audience. So be thinking as you listen to their presentations, questions that you might have. And then also, because it is our birthday, we have birthday cake right behind us there. And that was donated by Simply Cake. And then we also have some macaroons, and those were donated by, I'm pulling up their name, Sugar and Almonds Macaroon Baking Company. So thank you to those businesses for donating some yummy treats for our 1-year anniversary, along with Scooter's Coffee. The local franchise owner there has donated coffee graciously in the past 2 meetings, and we really appreciate that, because this way we can keep Founders Blend free and open to the public. And then, as you walked in, you might have been asked by Art if you wanted a Founders Blend mug. So that is our gift to you for our 1-year anniversary. We are giving away Founders Blend mugs, and then also we will have 3D printed from UT Permian Basin business card holders and cell phone holders that have Founders Blend logo on there, which is pretty cool. So make sure you grab one of those on your way out. Okay, well, without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started here. But before, do you see this QR code here? If you could grab your phone and scan this real fast. And the login now to scan this is very short and sweet. We just need your name. So short and sweet. I'll give you guys a minute here. And then something else to note while you're signing into that, if there's something that you really take away from today and you want to go back and listen to it, well, we do share our Founders Blend meetings on social media, on Facebook Live, so you can go back and watch today's meeting if there's something that really sticks out to you and you would like to re-watch it. Okay, did everyone get that? Is that working? Perfect, thank you. I needed affirmation. Thank you so much. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and get started here. The first business you are going to hear from today is Page 27 Designs. She is a Midland native who discovered her passion for the creative arts in middle school photojournalism class. She developed her passion by working on the high school newspaper and yearbook, and then eventually graduated with an arts degree majoring in photography at Midland College. Kirsten has been in the printing and personalization industry for the past decade. And in 2019, Kirsten was presented the opportunity to absorb a local print shop's equipment and customer base when it decided to close its doors. Here to share her journey to opening Page 27 Designs is Kirsten Hobbs.
Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Good? Awesome. Alrighty, guys. My name is Kirsten, and waiting on, there we go. Alright, thank you. So first things first, the first question I always get whenever I talk about my business is, how did you come up with the name? So whenever I started in photography, I wanted to name the business Memoir Photography, like probably every other photographer, as it is a part of your story. So that's how I got started. It was Page 27 Photography, and as the years went by and I transitioned into printed products and graphics, I just kept the name. So, but it's the same ideas. All the products that we make go hand in hand with your story and any of the events that you go through in your life, whether that's family life, social life, or things at work as well. So whenever I got the opportunity to get my business, I asked myself, how are we going to be different? What do I want my business to, what do I want to be different to stand out from all the other print shops in the area? The two things that were important to me were just creating a really good culture for myself and for my team as well. So having a really healthy work environment, and then also focusing on growth for myself, for my employees, for my clients, just all around. So I did get started in 2019. It was the latter end of the year. It was a little slow, just like starting up a new business, getting to know my clients that I had inherited, and then going into 2020, obviously. COVID hit. So the first couple of years were a little rough, but it was a really good acclimation period for me. At the beginning, I did struggle to find some good help. I was looking for part-time, very part-time, and it was hard to find someone that fit in those hours that also fit within my budget at the time. So that was a struggle. In 2021, 2022, we started picking up. We started upgrading our equipment. 2022 was a great year for us. We really expanded our customer base. We were really growing. Our sales were growing. So here you can see in 2023, we were able to hire quite a few employees. That really resulted from being able to hire a business coach in 2023 as well. We also ended up expanding our business into the suite next door, the building that we were in. We now have 2 suites right next to each other. So that was also really exciting. Right now in 2024, because I do now have a team, which is awesome, that has led me to be able to delegate a lot of things to them. And that obviously they were all on my plate. I was doing everything myself, working long hours and everything. Now with my team, I'm able to delegate all those things and I can focus more on other business things like marketing. We relaunched a new website just recently. So going forward, right now my focus is just building more into my team, pouring into them. Whenever I first hired everybody, I was really big on creating a lot of systems and SOPs to make their jobs as easy as possible. Everybody's fully onboarded right now, so I'm kind of going into the second phase to just further their education. Mine always, a big focus for me has always been continuing education, so going to trade shows, doing webinars regularly, all that kind of stuff. Every job that I've worked at, I just want to know as much as possible. To have a really, well-rounded grasp of what I'm doing and just to help everything make sense that we're doing. So this year I was able to take a couple of my employees with me to a trade show, which was super exciting. And we all took classes there. At the end of last year, I was able to take my customer success lead with me to an event in Wisconsin through my business coach program that taught us a lot about systematizing the business and just refining a lot of the processes that I had put into place so that I could hire employees. So that's where we're at right now, is just focusing on how we can better serve each other and then definitely our client base as well. And here's all of our contact information. If anybody has any questions, you definitely reach out at any time. The QR code brings you to our landing page with all of our contact links. So, thanks.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Wow, she took to heart when I said, okay, make sure you're short and sweet. Well, you get a lot of good feedback and just good advice in these Q&As. So something that really stuck out to me when I met with you was you are local. I mean, you are a Midland College grad. You decided to go out on a limb and start your own business. And you were walking me through a little bit when you were making that decision to open your own business, that you didn't take that lightly. How did you decide, okay, wait, I think this is time. I think it is time that I do go on my own and I start my own business?
So whenever the opportunity presented itself to me, I remember my first thought was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. That's super exciting. And my second thought was immediately like, I have no idea how to do that. So it was an existing business that was closing, so I was able to take over, their building, their equipment, their customer base and everything. But it took 8 months to do all the background stuff, to figure out all the logistics and everything. It felt right. Like whenever someone just suggested like, hey, do you want to buy this business? I was like, that's exactly what I want to do with my life. That's what I want to do as a career. And I want to be my own boss. I've known that. It was definitely a long process, and I never knew if it was actually going to happen. But I knew that if it was ever going to happen, I had to put 100% in taking all those steps to, figure out the business plan, crunch all the numbers, all those things. So it just felt right. Yeah.
And then something else you talked about, and you can lean on your own experience, was you wanted it to be a good environment for employees. Retention and recruitment is already so hard in Midland and just West Texas, honestly, in the United States in general right now. And so you wanted Page 27 Designs to, set itself apart from other places people could find work. How did you go about doing that?
So yeah, from my own experience, I started in retail right out of college, and eventually, didn't like it, and it was draining, and I was like, I don't want to go to work every day and just feel drained. That was one part of it. So that also plays into like, are you doing what you love? So that's a question. But just the working relationships, making sure the right people are in the right positions, because I've definitely worked in jobs where those people were not happy in their positions. So that just leads to work relationships and how you speak to each other. Also, I'd say going with the right amount of training as well and experience. If you have someone that isn't good at talking to people and they're your manager, there's a lot of strain. And again, unhappy people in those positions. So I ask my team regularly, like, what do you like about your job? What do you not like about your job? Just so that we can all be on the same page and we can make whatever adjustments we need to make. So yeah, I didn't want to feel that way in the jobs that I had. So I definitely don't want any of my employees to feel that way. And even with clients, I want that relationship to be really good as well. So just all around, like not adding extra stress to something that's already stressful. And I will say in all of my employee interviews, I always ask the question, what would have to happen for you to quit once you're hired? And they have all said the exact same thing, and that's a toxic working environment. So it's definitely a huge thing for me to always be reevaluating.
Yeah, I mean, that, as the saying goes, people quit people, not jobs. And then something else that comes up, there's a lot of understanding here with the oil and gas industry, but there's not as much understanding with something like a print shop or a marketing firm, and people might be taken back by the cost of things or the hours that go into things. How do you educate clientele?
We just do our best. We try to do our best. That's something that we focus on a lot because we do have a lot of pushback from customers about pricing or about timeline and turnaround. A lot of people are like, you can have this ready later today, right? Or tomorrow. And obviously we do our absolute best. That's definitely a metric that we are constantly capturing, so that we can always improve on. So we try to educate the customer on what the process actually looks like. And something that we really focus on as well is having checkpoints with the customer instead of just they place their order and we don't talk to each other again until the product is ready. We try to update them in the process, so like this is where your order is at. And then of course, just letting them know upfront that whether we can complete a project on time or not. I feel like a lot of struggles that other shops or even people that are doing this out of their home, one of the struggles that a lot of people have is they just say yes to everything because they want to people please, which I'm guilty of as well. But from the experience of running my business is you really have to evaluate, can I complete this? Is this going to be a good, fit for me and for the client? And just nipping that in the bud right away. so that you're meeting the customer's expectations.
And just making those expectations clear, communicating, hey,
Absolutely.
if this doesn't work for you, here are some referrals.
Right, absolutely. That's a really good point too. I just visited like 3 other local shops that I have a good relationship with. So definitely, also having those connections. And there's so many times where a customer will place an order and they'll give us all the details, and then we always make sure to say, "Do you have a due date?" And they're like, "Yeah, in 2 days." So there's a lot of times the customer also forgets or doesn't know how long things take or what our current workload is. How many other orders we have, all those kinds of things. So our work order and our process, the SOPs and everything that we've been working on include things like that to manage those expectations.
And then speaking of expectations, just totally having to shift, you opened shop in 2020 and then a global pandemic happened. And then coming out of 2020, there's a bunch of supply chain issues and things from keychains to hats to t-shirts to postage. I mean, you name it, you have dealt with those supply chain issues. And now you're likely dealing with inflation and supply chain still. Are you?
I'm like,
how are you doing? Is it going okay?
I'm like, what's the question?
What is that like?
You're just stating facts.
But how do you navigate that as a business owner when you're like, oh, well, people are, they're also feeling inflation, but we have to pay our employees. How are you dealing with that?
So a few things. So on a personal level, I have to remember I can only do what I can do. There's so many forces like that are out of my control. And again, there's the people pleasing factor where I do want to just like do everything I can. So we definitely had struggle getting the most popular hat in America. That brand, that was a huge struggle. And I, again, just had to educate my customers on how similar other brands are, order a sample of what I could get so they can come in and feel it. And, and there's a lot of leniency as well. So just asking customers, how important is it that you get that hat or that style shirt? Can I show you some other options? So just looking to see what's available. Again, educating and communicating with the customer was a big part of it. As far as inflation goes, there's the education factor of just, obviously, you guys all know things are more expensive. So if I tell you the decal is a little more expensive, that'll probably make sense to you. So we haven't had a ton of pushback on that. But I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I think everybody is pretty understanding. And then from the business side of it, it's just making sure that you know your numbers and knowing what you can afford and can't afford. So we're definitely always evaluating what services make sense for us, what products make sense for us. We might have to remove certain products if they're not, if the inflation is kind of, now we're not making any profit off of it, then just making that decision. So definitely always reevaluating your numbers and your costs for sure.
And then something else you brought up that plenty of businesses struggle with is, are people even driving by and seeing my business? And is there other real estate available somewhere? I know you were looking at possibly other places to lease, but that is a whole other ball game on top of running a business day to day.
Right.
Where are you at on that progress?
So the easiest thing for me whenever I got my business is it was already in a shop, right? So all of the equipment that I inherited, which is a lot, is already in this building. So for me, the struggle whenever I was looking for other locations is not only the space, but just logistically moving all of that equipment. So I was looking a lot, and then that suite opened up next to me, honestly, in perfect timing. So I'm really so grateful for that. So that was the perfect solution for me at the time. Will we grow out of it? Absolutely. So I'll continue to look for that. But again, it goes back to know your numbers, because it has to make sense to move my giant embroidery machine and my big work table and all my printers and everything. So when the numbers align, then I'll make that that move for sure. But I'm always looking, and if you guys know of anything, let me know. But yeah, but right now we're at a pretty good space because we were able to expand.
And you are a Midland College grad, and so when we talked, it sounds like you've got a soft spot for alumni that graduate out of Midland College, and that those students, they could have opportunity right here in their backyard if they're just aware of it.
Yeah.
How are you pulling or recruiting from higher ed programs locally?
So I would love any help that anybody has with that. That's always been something that I've been pulling for. Just because whenever I was at Midland College, if I had had an opportunity to work at a local shop, or even anything close to it that would help me with experience, I would have absolutely loved that. I was working at Target. um, but yeah, I definitely would have loved that. And same goes for the high school programs as well. Whenever I was in high school, I didn't know how signs were made. I didn't know really about print shops and stuff back then. So if I could just present that opportunity to high school or college students, that would be amazing. We have a lot of tasks that a part-time college student could come in and fill very easily, especially if they already were passionate and familiar with the print and design world. Even, I started with photography. It translates so well, so it's really just the creative field.
Have you thought about like an internship program or something like that?
I have. There's some red tape and all that kind of stuff that I haven't gotten to yet. I think once I get my team completely trained and, through this next stage of the more minute things that we're moving into right now and get them in a good place, I would love to reevaluate that. There's just, I know in some high school internships and college internships and everything, there's just a little bit of background things that you have to get tidied up and everything before you can implement something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions? Angel in the back?
Hello, how you doing? So you're in a unique position where you're still, in the, I guess, hard copy, right? But then that obviously created from the digital. So how is generative artificial intelligence going to transform your future?
The question was, how is artificial intelligence going to transform your future?
So from a business standpoint, it's been really, really incredible in being able to automate a lot of the business. I didn't understand it at first, but I really had to lean into it. And again, thankfully with the business coach program I was in, we go over all aspects of the business, and definitely automations was a huge part of it because I started out by myself. I was working by myself in the business. So it was vital that I came up with automations in the business. It's a weird time to think about AI in the creative way, as far as anybody is an artist and you can just type in a few words and just come up with art, right? And it's kind of cool if you know how to use it and utilize it from my standpoint, but the customer thinks, oh, that's so easy, I can do it. So it's a little bit of a struggle in that standpoint, but I think it's definitely beneficial and it's been enhancing a lot of the things that we're doing.
That's great. Yes, Ryan.
How did hiring a business coach come about, and can I encounter?
Yes,
How
absolutely.
did hiring a business coach come about? And
Absolutely.
can he have his contact information?
So the business coach program that I signed up for is remote, which has actually been amazing. So how it came about was it was 11 p.m. and I was at my shop working, cutting decals and, trying to type up invoices and everything. And I was like, I cannot do this anymore. And I have no idea how to move past that hurdle. I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to start payroll. I didn't know how to do any of those things. I just knew that I like to print stuff and make stuff look really cool. So it came just from that need, and I found her online. It's a program, but it's led by Stacy Tushel. She's a business coach, and the program is called Well-Oiled Operations. I have done 2 rounds with them. It's a 6-month program. And so it's like a module base, so you can log in, and there's pre-recorded, and then there's live weekly calls as well. And it's incredible. You also get your own accountability coach. There's a lot of check-ins and everything. So again, it's Well-Oiled Operations, and I do get a referral. So let them know. Kirsten Hobbs. It's spelled weird. Email me if you need the correct spelling.
Any other questions?
I have one. So when you were hiring and the future employees or whatever said, I don't want to toxic work, how do you define that? So I know we grow up from healthy work environment, oh, it's toxic, but if you just give like a definition of those phrases.
The question was, how do you define a toxic workplace when you're interviewing and onboarding employees so that you steer away from that?
Right. So to answer this, I have to speak from my personal experience. And so for me, what it means, trying not to be too specific, but I've had
Keep it
both.
PC.
I've had bad working relationships with owners of companies, and I've had bad working relationships with coworkers. And so from the owner standpoint, it's, being more professional and handling your employees, doing certain things in private, not letting your emotions or your mood every day determine how you're going to treat people. Or even the SOPs and the processes every day, coming in, and we do things this way one day and then this way another day. There was a lot of confusion on a day-to-day basis. And then with the coworkers, not knowing how to speak to people, so just having maybe your supervisor or your manager talk down to you, or again, you're just on two different pages. That's a big thing. So you come into work and you're like, I'm ready to do a great job, and then my manager is telling me that I'm doing the wrong thing. So I would say a lot of confusion, not good communication. Fortunately, we haven't run into that yet because I'm very upfront in the interview. I'm very thorough, which again, well-oiled operations. Just leading to we're going to have very specific SOPs on how meetings go, how we speak to people, outlining these conversations, what you're allowed and not allowed to say. So I haven't run into it with my employees because I think by vetting them that much, I have truly found people that are almost as passionate, if not as passionate, as I am about the industry and serving our clients, honestly. I mean, we get so excited, whenever we get to deliver that product and our client is like, these look amazing, and we're like, this is, why we do this. So, but also for me as the business owner, I all the time put myself in their shoes. That's the biggest thing. I remember back what it was like whenever I was working at other local shops or even in retail and having, my managers then, and just making sure that I'm doing my due diligence as well, as far as clearly communicating what my expectations are and how I will tolerate people treating other people. And just being open and communicating and making sure that I have all my processes outlined so that we're all on the same page.
And then I think it's also important your employees see that you're working on the business management side of things. You're doing coaching. You're figuring out how to be a better manager. And you communicate that as well, which is great. Any other questions? One last question here. Well, I can wrap it up for us. You are, after meeting with you, you just are so authentic and you just own who you are. And then that translates really well into page 27 designs. What would be your advice to a younger version of you who could look at you now? What do you wish they would have known that you've learned from being an entrepreneur and kind of coming into this new version of yourself? What do you want that younger version of you to know?
That you're wildly capable, I would say. I think growing up, everybody has their own version of the limitations that they're presented. So it's very easy to think that's not going to happen for me, or how would I ever get that opportunity, So whenever I was presented the opportunity with my business, I was like, I'm just going to run with this. I'm going to do it. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to do it. And yeah, just to know that you're going to have you're going to build this confidence and you're going to find your worth and you're not going to settle for anything less. So that if my younger self would have known that, I would have done this a lot sooner. The last advice I would say is done is better than perfect. Don't get yourself caught up in everything has to be absolutely perfect before I do anything, before I send a marketing email or try a Facebook ad or make a phone call to an ideal client or something. Just do the things. Get up here and present at Founders Day.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, that is so, so true. Yep, you are wildly capable. I think that is a great sentiment. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. And this is for you here. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Wasn't that great? And someone local who stayed local and started their own business, which we love to see. All right. So the next business you are going to hear from is Brown's Bar-B-Q. For the owners behind Brown's Bar-B-Q, the quote, "Barbecue may not be the road to world peace, but it certainly is a start." And that rings very true for Todd Brown, who started out his barbecue business in a food truck back in 2003. In 2017, he and his wife achieved a dream of theirs and opened a restaurant. They've centered the barbecue restaurant around fresh food, inspiring locals, vegan options, yes, barbecue vegan options, and creating community. That means getting the wood fire grill started each and every morning around 6 a.m. to ensure the meats have had enough time to smoke. And when customers sit down to eat, you'll often find Todd walking around asking them how it tastes, ensuring quality in every bite. So without further ado, Mr. Woo! Mic drop there, phone drop, Mr. Todd Brown.
Thank you so much. How's everybody doing today? Thank y'all, Founders Blend, for allowing me to get up here and speak about our business. As Sammy mentioned, we are local and our food is fresh and we're inspired. That has been a model for our business, things that we take at heart. We've been in business, Midland, for over 20 years, and so we're well known, and we've had a huge part in the success of the mobile food industry locally. I don't know if y'all have seen the food trucks here. It's about 300 of them. And back in '03, there was only 2, me and another guy. I'll never forget it. So with all the things that we had to do and go through ordinances and things, we kind of had a lot to do with that. Our aha moment came. I lost my dad in '02. He succumbed to his death. And on his deathbed, I promised him that I would keep the legacy going. And he was from Texas, and he moved to California, and he done barbecue out there for years. And so I was born out there. My mom brought me here, and I would go out there every year, and I had that, passion for it. It's something about wood burning. I don't know if with onions and stuff on it, it just really smells good. My slogan is "Get Around Brown." Having to navigate the city, going different places, it just stuck, So I got around, and I've had it patented and trademarked with USPTO office as well. And we are an LLC, and we used S Corp for our filing tax purposes. All right, so that's a little picture there of the railroad tracks, challenges that we had along the way, ordinances that were outdated. I don't know if anyone knew, but we had a lot of ordinances that just didn't adhere to what individuals was trying to do with that industry. Of course, startup cost. It takes money to do anything, if anybody knows. You can't do nothing without a little bit of money. You know what I mean? And again, the statistics was against the industry, whether it was the food truck industry, restaurant industry. Those industries are labeled as failures between the first and third year of business. And the other challenge was, just like Miss Kirsten said, you're at the age that you are today, and you wonder what would have happened if you had started then. That was what I didn't want to do. I didn't fear trying, because I was going to try anything to get it going, because that's what I had to do. But the fear I regretted the most was looking back, as I'm 55 years old here today, looking back and saying, man, what would have happened only if I had tried? So that was a challenge that I didn't want to have presented myself at the age I am today, because the regret will tear you up. I don't know if you know that, but It just burns you up. Currently, we're located on 4200 West Illinois. Our business operating hours are Wednesday through Friday, 7:30 to 8:30. That's a long day. Then we're at Saturdays and Tuesdays now from 11 to 6. The future things we're doing now with our business, we're starting to conduct some cooking courses there at the restaurant. We're going to bring some really cool things for date nights and team bonding events. Our pricing is moderate. I heard you talk about inflation and things earlier. In the food service industry, you got to adjust. And the way you adjust is you cut the portions back. You know, you don't necessarily have to give the same amount of portions just because the meat is more expensive. You just deal with it and keep it moving. Our sales today are really great. We have some nice evening lunch sales, breakfast sales. We're doing some advertising. And then we have our delivery partners, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub, where you can find our food. And these are more pictures of our food. The next slide there, that's that vegan burger. There's award-winning there. That vegan burger, that's an Impossible vegan burger. Those are Impossible street tacos. All that stuff's vegan. We have over 10,000 followers online that we keep them engaged with little trinkets and options to come in and say stuff like "cook it like grandma," and then we'll give them something on the house. And we got a 4.7 star rating on Google, and we're pretty happy with that. And again, thank you for allowing us to be here.
Well, thank you so much. All right. Well, you were just such a delight when I visited your business. And something that I noticed, we got started before the lunch hour, but as the lunch hour picked up, you're like, okay, wait 1 second. And you would go and talk to the customers at each table and make sure that the food was tasting right and tasting good. And something that you explained very well was food is about relationship building, and you can really have a good relationship with folks over food. But how do you create such a welcoming, fun environment too that brings customers in on top of the food?
Absolutely. That's a great question. But for us, I'm in the food service industry. We deal with the public on a daily basis. If your attitude is bad, it's going to reflect on how you feel and how you project that. People are coming in to patronize you, but the fact of the matter is they don't care what type of day you're having. If you're not smiling, if you're not feeling good or smiling and making these people feel appreciated for coming patronizing your business, then you're going to be a statistic just like another corporate place. So that type of stuff is dear to my heart. I remember my guests by names. I take them around, I show them around, and that's what we do.
And then everyone knows and remembers Todd Brown. And then another unique thing about you, Todd, is you work with your wife. And you can probably speak to this better than Todd even. What is it like running a family business?
Oh, man, let me jump right into that. I met Erica Brown. She's my backbone, my rock. I met her at Cattleburn Steakhouse. I was a kitchen manager. Unfortunately, it's closed now. But I met her 25 years ago. We've been married 24 years. So, yeah, and it's a pleasure working with your wife. And, you know, and a lot of people say, oh, I can't work with my wife or I can't work with my husband. Well, that's how we met at the restaurant. So it was divine intervention that this is what I was going to do. She supported it 100%, which is another determining factor. If you don't have a support system telling you that you can, like, yes, you can. You can do this, and I'm going to support you all the way. Then you won't make it. You're gonna feel like a failure. You know what I mean? And that's like I say, I wasn't failing, even when I approached her to be her boyfriend.
She laughs now.
And it was fraternizing back then, you know what I mean? I was a kitchen manager, and I'm flirting, you know, and it's like, look, I could get fired, but I didn't care.
You gotta shoot your shot. You gotta shoot your shot. Well, it paid off. It paid off.
Absolutely.
And then something else that when I met with you, you were really just trying to be inventive when it came to marketing, because marketing just changes on a day-to-day basis. Some apps are killing it, some reels are really getting great views, and then a reel that you'll take 2 seconds on goes viral, and then one that you spent the whole day on has 3 people that watched it. And that is tough to navigate, the marketing world. How do you do it?
Well, when people are online and scrolling, they're visualizing. So that's what they want. They want to see. They want to see. That's why TikTok is so, relevant, because people want to be entertained. They want to be taught, and they want to learn something. So if you're engaging posts in doing anything that's touching those avenues, then it's not going to be effective. So, and those are things that I've learned along the way. I don't have 27 designed to where I can, come up with all these things. You just try to let your food and your little, like I say, funny reels and stuff, just let it be engaging. And if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. But most people, most of the time, they will see what you do, but they won't like what you do. So you're being watched no matter what. If you think you're not being watched because you're not being engaged with, they watching. I guarantee you they watching.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And then you have been in the food industry a while here in Midland, and if you run a business in Midland, you know it is a big, small town, and it takes time to develop relationships with the right people to get things done here. And when you said, hey, yeah, I'm going to be cooking things out of a food truck, City of Midland, I was like, pardon? What did you say? And you had to walk that line and explain and educate. And, you really brought food trucks to Midland. How did you do that?
Well, it was being persistent. Like, we used to get up in the mornings back in 2003, stand shoulder to shoulder, and roll burritos, and then I'd put them in a cooler and drive them around town. That's how I got started. And so the days that I didn't sell them all, I would come back and refresh it and redo it and start it over. And then we finally got our first little trailer. I had a stove on it, and I used to drive it around town. Then the health department knew my route, so he pulled me over and said, no, this ain't happening. And I was like, dang, so what next? So I met some guys at TMP. They gave me a pipe, and we just welded a little trailer, which is that one picture that had my head out the window. I thought I was the mess when I had that, because I'm like, now I got what y'all wanted, so here I am. I'm still here. I'm like the fly on the wall. So persistence is the actual result I'm trying to get at, letting people know you have to be persistent and consistent. And when people see that you're not down there raising a bunch of riffraff and being a rah, rah, rah kind of guy, if you go through the protocols, go through the right tape, ask them, how can I? And that's what I really want to appreciate Midland on lately, is now they're getting ways to say how you can do it as opposed to slamming the door. And rejection fueled my fire, you know what I mean? I even had a spot on A and Wall. People probably remember that. Then they came over and they were measuring with their feet, and they said, no, you have to cut this down. I'm like, and I had just borrowed that money too. So I went and cried in the office. I'll never forget, I was crying like a baby. Really, really? And so that's that rejection, and it just kept fueling it, and now if you come see our place, you'll see all the history along the wall. Mr. Roberts seen it. Thank you for being here.
And that persistency, eventually it was just endearing, I feel like, for the city, where they're like, you're not going anywhere, so I guess we're going to have to figure this out here. And it worked.
Absolutely.
And so now it seems like you've kind of taken on a new role where you're a mentor to these younger businesses, these younger restaurants that are just getting started, and they're like, how do I comply with, there's so many rules, how do I make sure I'm doing everything right? What's that been like?
Fun, because if you're not taking the time to try to bring someone up, then you're just adding to the problem that everyone feels all the time. you have to be able to lift people up and help them get to where they need to be. And so, like I say, that rejection that I had, I didn't want other people to have to feel that. So when people are doing the truck, they call me all the time. Hey man, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'll help them along the way. And so now as my business is shifting to the branding, you know, I'm all about my brand now. How can I build my brand? We are getting out of the streets, so we don't do anything on the streets other than pop-ups and donations. So like we're partnering with a company and we're just gonna go donate the food, but we're getting to shake hands, meet new people. And so we're working with Midland Lehigh. The barbecue cook team is gonna come to the restaurant. We're gonna give them a tour of the restaurant. And that type of stuff is self-gratifying because, like I said, as a business owner, all I ever wanted to do was work for myself. And now that I'm working for myself, it is what it is. And people's like, well, why don't you build this and this? No, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, working with my wife and finding my why, like you said.
Yeah, that's well said. And when I met with you back in November, you had your eyes on growth and expansion, and you have your brick and mortar, and you're not doing your food truck as much, and you're looking at, okay, well, how can I grow Brown's Barbecue? Where are you at in that progress?
Thank you. So as the restaurant industry continues to evolve, the last thing you want to do is continue to acquire debt. So like the pandemic came, of course, and they had some stimulus stuff available for restaurants if you were structured right and all this type of stuff. So luckily we were able to take advantage of that and continue to survive. So for us now, it's not about building a new location. It's about making this location do what it was meant to do. And so we've extended our hours, hired more people, and shifting that energy toward cooking courses and things of that nature. So it's called the ancillary sales. You know, how do you maximize the potential of your location that you have as opposed to wanting more? So a lot of times if you're content and you focus on what it is you need to do with what you're doing and not be, you know, multitasking all over the place, then you can find that flow and continue to grow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any questions for Todd here? Yes, Angel in the back.
Tell us more about your courses.
Thank you, Angel. So,
Questions? Tell us about your courses.
Yeah, so we partnered up with Bear Claw Knife and Shear on, he used to sharpen our knives back at Calderbaron, and now he has a great big old place over there. And so he came to us one day and said, well, I actually approached him because I had been thinking about it. Because me and my wife went to San Francisco. We were going to attend a course. You know, we do all this, and that's big business right now. People, like I said, want to be educated, and they want to find things to do for date nights and stuff. So I reached out to him. He was all on board. He showed me his Angel cooking area. And then I said, you know what? What would be cool if we bring people to the restaurant and teach them from there and show them from an industrial style setting. It would be cool, you know, have a little wine for them, have them sign the non-disclosure agreements, and just have a little network with Brown for 2 hours so they can continue to get to know me, and I can give my skills to them, even though I'm not a chef, but I've been in business 22 years, so that says enough. I don't need no chef, because I know what I'm doing. I'm still here. So that was my fear of that before, but he was like, no, come on. So yeah, when our first one is on the 15th for Father's Day weekend, we're gonna do some ribs and quarter chickens and stuff. So come on in and maybe you can learn something and take back home and impress your wife. Where you sign up, you can buy your tickets at Bear Claw Knife and Shear or at Brown's Bar-B-Q.
That's great. That's great. Yes, question here.
So all the vegan products that you have, where did that come from? Did you just see that was a need, or what? Why do you focus so much on it?
Well, to be innovative in the restaurant industry, you have to be innovative. You have to identify and find something that separates you, because if not, you're just another place that has food. And my wife became ill one time with a food allergy, And so we would always go out to eat, always. Whenever we go and you get a server, of course they're uneducated, and then I start grilling them, asking them about what are you using for the chicken, for the rice? Are you putting chicken base? You got lard in the beans? And so no one never knew. They did not know. And it's like, you will know if you have to know. If you're sick, people don't care until they have to care. That's my wife's favorite terminology. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start tinkering with this. I know I can do this. I'm going to start tinkering with this, taking out all the animal protein, educating myself, and boom, it took off. It really has.
As a vegetarian in this area, it is very hard to ask your servers what's in your food and is it actually vegetarian and everything. So that's...
Well, at least that's a little easier than being vegan, because she has to, and it's like, no animal this, no that. What is this milk? So those are the type of things that I take pride in, because I educated myself, so that way you can articulate that information to the consumer, because they have to care, so they're asking the questions. And see, like most of the times, if you don't know, and my wife always say it's up to the person who has the allergy to disclose that. And so, but it's still up to the restaurant to be able to give them that information as well.
And I just feel like now with a growing population here of vegan options, we need options, right? And so hopefully that you grow from that and you can have even more options like that.
I sell tons of it right now. We're probably like 33% sales in vegan food.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big time. It's
That
big time,
is
especially
crazy.
because it's all about how you make it taste, because a lot of people, I always tell them, you have to try it here first. Because if you try it somewhere else, you already got your mind made up. I'm not eating that crap. It tastes like crap. So I tell them you got to eat it here first, though.
Yep. Yeah. That is well said. That is well said. Any other questions for Todd? Yes.
Todd, what made you decide to get out of food truck, going to a building? You didn't never talk about your barbecue sauce.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about those two.
Question was, what made you decide to go from a food truck to a brick and mortar? And then second question, talk about this barbecue sauce up here.
Well, Audrey, thank you for that. The ultimate objective, if you ask any aspiring chef, any aspiring cook, you have to start somewhere. Food trucks now, or was back then, was the most economical way to start. Now they're over $500,000 or $250,000, so you might as well get a brick and mortar. But your ultimate goal is to go to a brick and mortar, which was what my goal was. And so that's why I went to the brick and mortar. Plus, you have the amenities as, climate control, more storage space, things of that nature that the food truck adequately couldn't take care of. And then the barbecue sauce, that's really precious, because my dad used to have it bottled, but he would do it in mason jars. He never did get the full process as far as the FDA nutritional facts. Those type things, he didn't let that go, because back in those days, people would take your ideas and take them. And so when I sent that recipe off to get the pH levels tested, nutritional facts, the barcodes and all that, when I pushed send, my heart dropped, because I had no more control. But I had to let it go in order to grow. And so that's what I promised him, that I would keep this legend going for him and for myself and create some sort of generational wealth. And so that's kind of where that has transpired from.
And where can people buy that barbecue sauce?
Buy this at Midland Meat Market. We have it there. We have it at a couple of adult beverages stores. We also have it at Brown's Barbecue. And we're working on trying to get it in some other areas. The well-oiled machine is probably one of the people we're going to be reaching out to kind of figure out what it is you need to do to take that next step, to have it, mass-produced and on shelves. We got some stuff trying to get it in H-E-B, but it's just a lot of work, but you can get it at my place for now.
I like that answer. Any other questions here for Todd? Anything? Well, I'll close this out here. You're just a delight to talk to. You walk into your restaurant and people just fall in love with, yes, your food, but also your character. But it's not easy running a business. What makes you decide to have that attitude on those tough days? Because especially, back in the early 2000s when you were just hitting a closed door after a closed door after a closed door, what kept you going?
Promise I made my dad. It was something I had to do. And when I resigned from Cattle Baron, when I resigned from Cattle Baron, I gave them a 5-week notice, 5 weeks to replace me. And so I trained probably about 15 to 20 guys every day. They were sending guys. I had to train them how to cut meat, train them how to do the schedule, train them how to order. And I continued to train because I knew it was going to leave a big hole. And then 3 days before I resigned, which was Valentine's Day, 3 days before Valentine's Day, I got them all prepped up with the lobsters and everything. I got them all prepped up. And then the district came in and said, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" I said, "This is what I have to do. There's no turning back." And like I said, that's why the persistence is in my DNA. I will never be told no. And if I am told no, how can I make them say yes?
Well, I think your dad would be proud for sure. He definitely will be proud. Well, let's give Todd a round of applause. You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, aren't those conversations with these entrepreneurs just inspiring? Don't they just fill up your cup and make you want to go out there and keep growing your business and building your business and making your workplace more positive and better, and just have your eyes on the future? Thank you guys so much for joining us for Founders Blend. We are so grateful to have you here. Please, before you leave, make sure you introduce yourself to someone that you don't know coming into this. This is networking for you, so be intentional with it. And then as a reminder, we are always looking for business presenters, donors. If you would like to sponsor baked goods for one morning or coffee another, please let us know, because we want to continue to have this be free and open to the public, and that's all due to partnership. We hope to see you next month. Our next meeting will be in early May, I believe. It'll come up here, but you'll also be getting an email, and then you can follow us on social media with all of those dates and information. We're going to hear from 2 businesses next month: the energy, people, and phases of design. Again, if you're a local business and you would like to present, all of that application information can be found on our website. Okay, before you leave, make sure you grab a mug, grab a cup/phone holder, and grab some goodies. Thank you so much.